So we still have Heidi's camera on. So, all right. Next, we're moving right on to our Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind. First up, we'll have our monthly budget report from the finance director, Carl. MP, are you available?
I am available. Good morning, Mr. Chair and board members. The financial report that we're going to discuss today is for the 10 months that ended April 30th. Our revenues and state transfers for the 10 months were $30.6 million. Year-to-date expenses for the 10 months is $32.5 million. The difference is $1.9 million, and that accounts for a transfer of $2.5 million we did not receive from the state in the month of April, but we did receive it early in May. So if we take that $2.5 million in account, we would have had $600,000 more in revenues and transfers than we did expenses. So we are fiscally solvent and all is well as we approach the closeout here at the end of June. The number of students that we served as of the end of April was 1,690. The land grant enrichment fund balance was $1,274,000. And our donated fund balance is $1,189,000. I'm just rounding up on those. The report right behind the budget status report gives all the supporting detail for those numbers that we discussed. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that there may be.
Okay, questions from board members to Finance Director Carl MP on his report. I appreciate the explanation at the beginning, but I'm not seeing any questions at this time. Are you Vice Chair Brittany Cummins? Are we good?
No, I don't see any.
Okay. Mr. MP, does this conclude your report?
Well, we just need to talk about the enrichment funds. The projects that you approved back a year ago in May of 2019 was $1.6 million. We've spent $733,000. Again, I'm just rounding up on the report, and we have a total remaining of $272,670. Because of COVID, we're not able to do some of the activities, and we anticipate having about $123,000 to $125,000 of funds of the request that we will not be able to spend.
Will that be carry forward then?
Yes, those will all be carry forward, okay. And that's not going to be impacted by the state's budget cuts.
That's a separate funding line.
Correct. And that's my report.
Any questions on the enrichment fund? I'm not seeing any.
Great, thank you.
Okay, that concludes the financial update on the report and the enrichment fund. Next, we'll turn the time over to Superintendent Joe Coleman on laptops and for graduating students. Superintendent Coleman.
There, I've been unmuted now. Thank you. Good morning. I don't know why my video is not working, but at least you can all hear me. That's, I guess, good enough. Maybe it's even better for some people. Okay, so the first item on our agenda, board members, is, for me anyway, is the just a little draft policy that we would like you to approve. And it's our surplus property draft. What we did is we copied the language directly from your surplus property draft, but we added one item, item 2.2, says that the Utah State Board of Education has authorized USTB to give student devices to graduating seniors or other students who transition from the K-12 education system after completing programs at USTB, subject to the discretion of the superintendent. The reason we added this in, we plan to retain expensive equipment, but we have student Chromebooks, for example, this year, and we did last year too, and we took them away from our students and disposed of them through state surplus like we should. But these are devices that are really not worth very much money financially, but they're worth a tremendous deal to some of our students. And this is becoming a fairly common practice with other school districts across the country and even in our state, where they give a student a device starting when they're a freshman in high school, and then they use it throughout their high school 4 years. And by the time they graduate, the device isn't worth much money, but the student still needs a device to succeed in the world. And so instead of just turning it back into state surplus where it gets sold for pennies on the dollar, we would like permission in our surplus property policy to just do what other schools do and let the students have that. Of course, we have our IT department scrub the machine and clean it off, and there's no liability to us for that. But we think our students need those Chromebooks a lot more than we do, or that the state does at that point. So that's the proposal. And if we could get this, because the state board is our purchasing head now instead of state procurement, it only requires a state board policy to approve that for us. We don't have to go to state purchasing.
So this is a housekeeping exercise with a recommendation from Utah Schools, the deaf and blind superintendent on this. There's also, my understanding from the other LEAs that put this policy out to have them keep the devices, the cost of collecting the device and the hassle of collecting the device after they've graduated, and then cleaning them all up and then turning them into state surplus. It's all about work and efficiency. So is there any questions from board members or a proposed motion? I see a hand up on board member Scott Hansen.
Hello, just a question as to the other districts that have similar policies. I'm not aware of what those policies look like. I wonder if we've taken a look at those and if this proposed policy mirrors the policies in other districts or if they're different. Anyone educate me on that?
Board member Hansen, you're breaking up on my end, but maybe Superintendent, did you hear the question?
Yeah, it sounded like he asked if we've looked at the other district policies to see if this mirrors that. We have not. We've just talked to other colleagues, both inside and outside of the state, who do this sort of thing. And so I wrote it into ours because I thought it was a shame that last year we had to dispose of worthless Chromebooks instead of sending them with the kids who have been using them. They enter the world. So anyway.
Did you have a follow-up, Board Member Hansen?
Yeah, I'm certainly not opposed to what we're proposing here, but I would like to take a look at what those other policies look like and see if we can't mirror those or make sure that we have the same considerations in place, especially when we have something left to the discretion of the superintendent. That just leaves us open, I guess, for equity kind of concerns if there's one year that we weren't able to give them out or wasn't able to get a Chromebook. So I'd really like to look at that before we approve this, but have the direction of making this happen.
The reason I inserted the language about the discretion of the superintendent is because we have some devices that we will not send with students. Like some of our blind students use very, very expensive, like $5,000 or $6,000 Braille transcribers while they're with us. We retain those to use for future students. But once they graduate, the Division of Services for the Blind and Visually Impaired provides those resources for those kids. So this is really intended just to be focused on whatever computer they've been using for 4 years. That's the main reason behind that language. If you want to wait, we can. We kind of, since graduation is tonight, we're hoping to do that, but we can probably leave it with them temporarily if the board votes to postpone this for a month. We can still leave the laptops with them. They're just our property. We'd rather send them with them at this time, but if you'd like to go back and look at other policies, I'd be happy to wait until you review them.
Superintendent Coleman, we do have a board meeting next Thursday.
Uh-huh.
That if we, I'm not giving direction. The board, this is an actual item. If the board moved on this and approved it, then of course then that could get amended later also. But we are meeting next Thursday. I don't know if that will mean anything to the board. Board Member Earl has a question or a comment.
I just wonder if we can get some of that information by the end of our board meeting today, or by lunch, if that's possible to find that information out. We might be able to make that decision this afternoon.
What exactly are we looking for? You want us to kind of call around some other districts and see what their specific wording is?
I think that's what Board Member Hanson was requesting, is so he could see a comparison to maybe what they've done. I'm not sure if he's wanting to, if there's a legal side of it, or I don't know where he's at. I think that's what he was talking about. But
we just need permission from the board to give them their laptops. But there's not really a complicated legal question behind this. I'll have to search around. I can't remember which superintendent. I think I can. I just don't know what I'd be asking for, really. If they could send me their surplus draft and we could comb through that. If the board doesn't approve this, I'd be happy to do that.
Vice Chair Cummins.
Yeah, just as far as timing goes, this, I think we have the opportunity to move forward with this today, and then do some additional research if we want the policy to be amended for future iterations. So is it appropriate to make a motion, Chair?
Yes, you could make a motion.
Okay, I'd like to move that we approve the revised USDB surplus property policy to allow for providing devices to students as outlined in the policy.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Jenny Gravett, second.
Jenny Gravett, second. Discussion. You want to speak to the motion, Vice Chair Brittany?
No.
Okay. Discussion to the motion. Board Member Hanson's hand is up.
I'll try again, and I'm sorry, my internet seems to be struggling, so I'll do this with video off. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll speak against the motion, and my reasoning is that this policy is very wide open. It says this is for the disposal of surplus property. It says that we're authorized to give students devices. That's not pinned down, and it's subject to the discretion of the superintendent. So it doesn't deal with the case of some students perhaps receiving devices, other students not receiving. I would ask that we get some input from other districts who do leave Chromebooks with their students at the end of their high school career, and see if we can tighten this up a little bit. And I would not be opposed to students using those and us dealing with this next week.
So we have a motion and a second. Not seeing any other hands, so the motion before the board is that the board approve the revised USDB surplus property policy to allow for providing devices for students as outlined in the policy. Okay, so board members, at this time, calling this to a vote. Again, the green check is yes. A hand up is yes if you're on a different device, and X is a no.
Chair, it's Carol Lear. I have a point of
Yes,
order.
Carol Lear.
I'm not sure if Scott's motion or Scott's comment was a motion or a clarification. If voting gets consistent with his motion, that's what I have.
I'm not hearing you, Carol, but maybe Vice Chair Cummins, could you understand what your question is?
I think she was asking what the motion
Can you hear me
was.
better now?
Let me restate the
Yes.
motion. I'm following Robert's rules here. That the motion everyone's voting on, and people are casting their vote presently, is this, and I'll repeat the motion. And the motion is that the board approve the revised USDB surplus property policy to allow for providing devices to students as outlined in the policy. That is the motion. So if this passes, the same policy can come back with future work easily too, but that's the motion that's on the table that is being voted on. So board member with Janet Cannon and board member Newell, I'm not seeing your votes. I'm trying to inventory off the screen here. Board member Cannon, do you want to make a verbal yes or no? We might have lost board member Cannon. Okay, the voting. It's all yeses with the exception of board member Scott Hansen is a no. And board member Janet Cannon, we can't recognize her vote. And again, we do not have board member Belknap and board member Hansen.
Chair,
Yes.
board member Belknap is present.
Oh, there it is. Got it. I'm about ready to welcome aboard. Board member Cannon is the one that we can't recognize the vote. Okay, the motion passes. Is that how you see it, Vice Chair Cummins? Not unanimously.
Yes.
Okay. Superintendent Coleman,
Yes, sir.
will you please continue with your superintendent's report?
Yes, I will. I just sent a message to board member Hansen, and we will survey all the superintendents in the state through the State Superintendents Association. And we'll report back in the next meeting about the language in their policies.
All right.
So, okay. Next on the superintendent's report, I only have 3 items. One is this evening we're holding our graduation at our Salt Lake campus, appropriately social distanced, and we'll be. I will make sure that Susan sends out a link to you if you're interested in watching, if she hasn't already, because that will be on a live feed as well, so that the family members that are home can watch it. Only the parents are attending with their students, so we can minimize the number of people there. Next item I have is personnel related, actually. And so Susan Patton, I believe, is waiting on the line. As you know, she has been appointed as the superintendent over the School for the Blind after Superintendent Lassiter officially retires. And so Susan wanted to speak briefly with the board about her replacement in the Deaf Blind program as the director of the Deaf Blind program. So Susan, if you're there, I'll let you take over.
Hey, Susan, are you available?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, if you introduce everyone, I bet you'd have fun saying your new title.
So yes, my new title will be is the Associate Superintendent for the School for the Blind. And I am very excited and overwhelmed also at the same time for this new position. I know that I have big shoes to fill, and I am grateful for all of the support that has been offered and will be continue to be offered in that regard. I am thrilled today, though, to announce that Erin Fair has accepted the position of the Director of Deafblind Services and the Director of the Utah Deafblind Project, which takes my place. Erin has been with us for about 13 years. She has spent her career in special education, and then specifically with deaf blindness. So I am going to actually turn the time to her so she can just tell you briefly a little bit about herself. You all will really enjoy her and her personality. She's just a wonderful colleague to have. So we're very excited for this. Go ahead.
Ms. Erin Fair.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Susan, for that introduction, and Joel for the opportunity. I am really excited. Like Susan, I have the same thoughts. I'm a little overwhelmed, but really excited to be able to take on this position. Just a little background. So like Susan mentioned, I've been with Deafblind Services with USDB for about 14 years. I started my special education career just out of high school as an intervener, working one-on-one with our students who are deafblind. And that really just, it caught me. I knew that that's what I wanted to do forever. And then I actually spent about 5 years teaching in a severe special education setting. I was a special ed teacher in the Jordan School District and the Salt Lake District, and then came back to USDB as a teacher of the deafblind. So I am just really thrilled for this opportunity. We've had some pretty fantastic directors of deafblind services in the past, and I hope that I can continue this legacy and provide services to this amazing population of students. I'm a little biased, but I think we get to work with the best kids in the state of Utah. So I'm just really thrilled to be able to do that. And thank you so much.
Well, welcome. I was going to say welcome aboard, but you're already on board the ship. So just a new challenge for you, and we've appreciated the work you've done in the past and your contribution. Superintendent Coleman.
Hey, we're really excited for Erin to do a great job. Okay, the last item today is the swan song for Superintendent Lassiter, and I've invited her to be here also. Just the board had asked to talk with her before she retired. That will officially take place July 1st. And so this is the last chance for you to have a discussion with her. She's here with us, I believe. Carolyn, are you there?
I am. Good morning.
Carolyn, I guess these aren't goodbyes, but see you later. We'll turn some time over to you if you want. I know you've been dreading this day. So
Dreading.
go ahead, Carolyn.
But thank you, Chair Huntsman, Vice Chair Cummins, and board members. I have prepared a statement, and I just wanted to read because it sort of unfolds a great story. And it just gives me an opportunity just to tell you a little bit about how I feel, what I'm leaving. And I think it would be, if it's okay, I'd like to read it. And then if there's any questions or follow-up discussion, I know your time is limited and precious these days. So if you're okay, I'd like to go ahead and just read my statement. And then afterwards, if you would like, questions and answers. Is that all right?
That is fine, Karen. The time is yours.
All right. Thank you so much. And welcome, Erin. I know Erin, she'll be a wonderful leader for our deaf-blind division. And Susan, I'll talk about her in a minute. Little did I know that my retirement would fall on such uncertain times. Who could have foretold what lies ahead? So there are moments at night I question my timing amid the current pandemic and the new future ahead of us. But despite the unknowns amid our new future, Susan Patton will be brilliant in her new role as the Associate Superintendent over the School for the Blind. So just know that you're in good hands. She will answer the challenges that lie ahead, and I do wish her the best. That said, I always feel that change is a good thing. Change provides new insight, new approaches, and new perspectives. It will be exciting to see what comes next for USB under a new leader. But this change is also good for me. And the only reason I decided to retire is that I'm so ready for a new chapter in my new married life. And so my adventures will continue in a different venue. But USDB and USB, my people, will certainly be always near and dear to my heart. I'm leaving the blind school, USB, in a really good place. We have defined who we serve and how we serve. We have focused on students first, their needs, achievement gaps, program gaps. We've set some challenging performance measures and dived a little bit from those performance measures, but regained momentum. We've designed strategic plans to address those needs, both academically and functionally for our students, all to help our students fulfill their full potential. Moving forward, there is a need for more vision-related professional development for LEAs throughout the state to provide them assistance in delivery and instructional capacity for vision services in collaboration with kids who are blind, visually impaired, and deafblind, technology instruction, and even just best practices for vision-related behaviors. I'm hopeful that USB can provide more professional development and resources in the near future, given the personnel to do so. Another challenge for us is the 3% rule. It is a challenge because we, of course, want to serve all kids free of charge and to provide those services as needed to LEAs throughout the state. I do want to just mention I have a great team of administrators that absolutely inspire me. They are indeed my movers, my shakers, my front linesmen and women. They've made me look good. From our parent infant program director, Karen Borg, my campus director, Ryan Green, and assistant director, Marsha Evans, Brandon Watts, my outreach or itinerant traveling teacher, division director, the expanded core curriculum coordinator, Robin Clark, my past deafblind director, Susan Patton, and my educational services director, or blind services anyway, Candace George, and the USIMIC director, Armando Venega. These are leaders, the ones that make it happen, who never lose sight of the important things with our students and families that they serve. These are they who should get the full credit of the great things happening on the front lines of USB. To them, my appreciation and hearty congratulations. To my staff, over 130 strong, they are heroes and magicians. They work and think outside the box to bring excellent services to our babies, our young preschool and elementary age kids, our robust and challenging teenagers, and our post-high students and college transition students. Whether they bring their well-honed specialized skills into the home, into our USB classrooms, or into other LEA classrooms or settings, and especially virtual during this pandemic. They work brilliantly and go far above and beyond meeting the basic needs of our blind, visually impaired, and deafblind, and multi-disabled students. My teachers and specialists, my paraprofessionals, interveners, related service providers impressed me before the school dismissal, but they absolutely wowed me working their magic during school dismissal. Indeed, the USB staff has touched lives with our professional touch. Our students have achieved, and in many cases excelled. They are destined to reach their full potential, and certainly our vision has no limits. So, just a little bit of back hindsight. It was nearly 20 years ago that I was hired at USDB as an educator. I was a new single mom, new to the state of Utah, and I needed a darn job. So with a bachelor degree in child development in hand, no teaching degree, mind you, I learned about an opening at USB. I walked in, I asked to see the students, and then I asked to be hired. So yes, what choice did they have but to hire me? I agreed for a contract just for the year. 3 months in, I was in love with these little students that I taught, these little preschool students. I knew that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I threw myself into a master's degree program and a vision endorsement and other endorsements. But in the meantime, I was absolutely surrounded and supported by experts in the field, low vision specialists, vision teachers, related service providers who taught me and provided strength in mentoring. Here for the mentoring program. So one word, wow. Just wow. I'm just glad I had never looked, and I've never looked back. And my next step in 2005, on a dare, I decided to apply for the position as campus director. I surprised myself by getting hired, but I never looked back. It was then that I learned about the national agenda for children who are blind and visually impaired. This national agenda, leading to the expanded core curriculum, was the missing link that I have been looking for blind and visually impaired students in our state. This specialized instructional curriculum focuses on 9 critical areas of need for blind students, helping them find success and independence. Then in 2006, without permission, I repented later. I launched an ECC short-term program just to probe into the ECC and if kids were interested, if families were interested. Now that program has been expanded to many programs and services to meet the needs of the blind students throughout the state. Our focus on this expanded core curriculum, along with the core, has been pivotal in positive student outcomes, better success in school, college, with jobs, and especially in social health, in social and emotional health and well-being. I appreciate the support that Joel has given me to move this ECC program and services forward. It truly propels the full scope of IDEA, meeting both academic and functional needs for our kids. So thank you, Joel. In my 15 years as administrator, with 9 of these years as an associate superintendent, it's been a ride. I've been administrator under 4 different superintendents. I want Joel Coleman to know that he has done more for USDB during his tenure than any other superintendent I have worked for. Although there have been some challenging moments, and I am outspoken in the superintendency and just challenges statewide, he is by far the most influential superintendent I've ever worked for. Joel, thank you for what you have provided for USB. To other members of the superintendency who have been so supportive of the blind school, thank you. You know who you are. You have been wonderful to work with. I've appreciated your support, guidance, and friendship throughout these many years. So here we are in the year of 2020, and the vision world has certainly waited centuries for this 2020 because it just stands for perfect vision, 2020 perfect vision. But this is not the year that we expected. I share with you a saying that I have adopted over the past several years, and I stole it from a Camp Abilities program for the blind. A loss of sight, but never a loss of vision. I could promote this same motto for USDB, and specifically for the School for the Blind and for the School for the Deaf. Neither school should lose sight of the vision of a team working together, supporting each other, and of being one mind and one heart. Certainly the pulse of USDB should be similar to the words we often hear associated with our current COVID pandemic. We are stronger together. I am hopeful that USDB can again share that vision of one school. Certainly we can provide guidance to our respective schools, but my hope is that leadership can bring our 2 schools together as one, with one mind and one voice. If my departure is the catalyst that propels us to that end, I'm all for it. Indeed, Helen Keller says it best. Alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. My parting words in closing, so long, farewell. Auf Wiedersehen, adieu. My best to all of you on the board. Your collective board leadership, support, advice, and counsel have all helped USDB stay the course and keep our 2020 vision intact. So thank you. You've been the best board ever. And I have appreciated it. Thank you and God bless to all of you. What a pleasure it's been to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Questions, comments from board members? I'm a little slow on this device. Well, board members are wanting to weigh in. Maybe I just take this moment. Carolyn, thank you for all you have done. You've definitely been part of the recipe for success for USDB with your influence there. You've always been very everything that I've ever seen since I've been on the board, you've been positive. Vision was about everything, setting goals, holding the course. There's always just a wake of betterments following you, and your fingerprints are on a lot of things, and been a part of a unique evolution that's happened with our USDB school to put it in the space that it is today, and how it is received it from parents and students, but also how it is viewed from a national perspective. So thank you so much for your work. It's been a pleasure knowing you.
Thank you so
Any
much.
questions or comments from board members? I'm trying to run this device and I'm not doing a very good job. Board member Earl?
Yeah, thank you. I loved hearing the background. It's always interesting to see how people get started years ago in an organization or something, and then how they end up just falling in love with what their work and what they do, and where they end up at the end, where they end up achieving or leaving off. So anyways, thank you for all your hard work and your commitment and the time that you put into it, and good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I'm not wanting to miss. I know it's bittersweet, these changes. I'm not seeing any other questions or comments. Again, thank you. And I know you're finishing strong here. And again, it isn't a goodbye, it's a see you later, because you're still part of our wonderful state and community, and we just wish you the best and lots of joy and happiness in your future endeavors. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent Coleman, do you have anything else you want to contribute?
That's all. I agree with board member Earl. It's really good to hear the background. There's one regret I have with the board is that there is so much turnover, and it's not always easy to understand if you haven't seen it firsthand where things will come from. And with the School for the Blind, if you realize that Carolyn and one other administrator, Karen Borg, who is over our blind PIP program, they are the only two administrators that are still with the school that were here 7 years ago when the administration changed over. And Carolyn has really done an amazing job of bridging that gap and helping me understand the history before I was even a board member, all the way until today. And I thought she did a tremendous job of summing it up. It's really good for the board members to be able to hear how far it's come under her leadership. So that's all I had for today, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any questions for the superintendent before we conclude this part of our agenda? I'm not seeing any hands, so thank you, Superintendent Coleman and USDB staff. Okay,
Thank you so much.
We're going to move on to continue to move through our agenda.